Hey, hello everyone. This is criminal profiler Pat Brown, and this is Patron Hangout number 154. I'm going to start by taking off my glasses because I'm just trying to keep my look when I start the show, but I'm having trouble with my eyes, so nothing works. And I got new eyeglasses. I do have the start of cataracts, but I've got new eyeglasses, but they don't work well here. So there you go. So we shall see what happens with all of that. Anyway, I want to welcome everybody here. You can see and hear me. That's good. One of you commented before the show that you couldn't see and hear me, and I'm like, I hope not. That would be very concerning. All right, but thank you for saying that, since I had a fairly recent screw up. So anyway, if you are new to the channel, please do subscribe. When you subscribe to the channel and you hit the bell, you get notifications of the new shows that have come out. And also check my playlists. And if you have a particular case you're interested in, please do go to the search engine in YouTube and put in Profiler Pat Brown and whatever you're interested in, and see if I've already done that particular analysis of a case. If you'd like to be in the chat room with these wonderful people, well, then click on the link below for Patreon, and please do join. It's $5 a month, and you come to 8 live shows if you want to. And if you don't even make it, you support the channel, and I appreciate that because this is an educational channel. Okay, now I got a lot of stuff. But I always like to start out with something a little bit inspiring. So some of you have asked, do serial killers get better as they continue on? And the answer to that is absolutely yes, because they get practice. And a lot of us are afraid to try new things because we think, oh my gosh, I can't do that. And so we don't. I just took up singing last year for the first time in my life. I joined a course. And I don't think I've had a very good voice, but I sang through the year. We did a performance, which was fantastic. And then this year, as I started out, I sang a few songs into my phone, and my voice sounded so much better than last year. I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't sound bad at all. So you can get better. I've taken up art, and I think I've gotten better. So you can always get better at something. And this is what serial killers understand. The first time they commit a crime, they're like, oh, I kind of screwed that up. I hope the police don't come and get me. But since they have such an interest in that hobby, they keep going and they get better and better, and sometimes never get caught at all. So, see, serial killers have something to teach you. Isn't that a horrible thought? But yet they're willing to keep doing something, and that they're doing a thing that is, obviously illegal, terrible, evil, horrifying, and brutal. But because they keep doing it, they do get better at it. And we folks who do not want to commit crimes, we should understand that we should do things that make our lives get better as well, regardless of our age, what we're involved with. Find something to do besides watching crime shows or crime analysis shows. Find other things to do to enrich your lives. So I just like to point that out, because I see a lot of people they're like, oh, I don't know if I can do that. Yes, you can. You don't have to become fantastic at it. I mean, if you're learning piano, you don't have to expect to become a concert pianist, but you can become a very good piano player. You can always get better and enjoy it. So do that. And oh, by the way, I've taken up doing some puzzles, and so I did a puzzle. I thought it was pretty hard. It was pretty, but I loved it. I gave it to my son. And this is a real pretty puzzle. Isn't that gorgeous? It's of Venice. And I didn't think he'd even do it because he's a dude, you know what I mean? He's 40 years old. I'm like, yeah, he did it and he really enjoyed it. And I'm like, really? So then I gave him, and he said he took him a bit. He thought it was harder than he thought it was going to be. Then I gave him a fish puzzle, which he did. And now, I'll show you what I'm doing now. Now I'm doing, this is, whoever put this puzzle together was a sadist. So this puzzle is a view of someplace in Egypt, but the puzzle you end up doing doesn't look like this, because this is daytime and it turns into evening when you do the puzzle. And it's absolutely incredibly hard to do. So I am still struggling with this stupid puzzle. Sometimes if I get a piece in after 50 minutes, I say, oh, thank God. I mean, it's that hard. and it's nuts, but I'm doing it. And now I have to finish it because I want to sick it on my son. So I'm this far now. This is now nighttime, and it is brutal. And I'm looking forward to giving it to him and seeing how much he suffers. And if he completes it, see, you can have competitions with family members and have a good time. Yes. It's funny. I'm glad you like doing puzzles. I started doing them for my granddaughter because I wanted to teach my granddaughter how to do something. I was trying to find something that wasn't electronic for her to do with me. So I started out with, these smaller ones, 100-piece puzzles. Then I went to 300. And then I realized I was having a good time. So that's how I got involved in it. So there you go. But if you are in the villages in Florida, please go to the website puzzlesonwheels.com, and you can get free puzzles delivered to your house on a bi-weekly basis or every other week. I never understand how that works. Anyway, that's my sister's volunteer group, and she has like 24 people helping her with thousands of puzzles, getting them out to the residents of the villages, and it costs nothing. It's amazing. So if you're down there, you're luck. Does cataract have an effect on night and daytime vision? It's not helping me out, let me tell you. I also have floaters, so it really is a pain in the butt. So yeah, you cheat. No, I use the puzzle. I use the picture. I mean, I never do the puzzle without the picture. But this picture is not daytime; it's nighttime. And apparently, UFOs flew in as well. So I'm like, what the hell are UFOs doing in this puzzle? So it's like very, very challenging. Hi, Timothy, and CJ's here too, and Dogs Discussions is here. Hi, Tim. Did I just say that? Huh? We got two Tims. Oh, that's interesting. We got a Timothy Schmidt and a Tim Harris. There's all kinds of tricks. Some tricks, yeah. Sometimes you have to go with the colors. Sometimes you have to go with the shape of the things, how many little knobs it's got. Oh, my God. It's actually challenging. So, and it's a nice change. That's my point. It's a nice change from doing something electronically or watching TV, the news, crime. No, have hobbies is my point. Anyway, that's my little speech for today on that. Let's go to narcissism because there's a couple of things people ask me about narcissism all the time. How does it present? And I have 3 examples, and there are different kinds of examples, but I want to share them with you because everybody's got narcissists that enter their lives, and sometimes they don't recognize it or know what they're supposed to do with it. So the first one was the Dear Abby that I had failed to find the other day. Dear Abby, a married man wants me to be his side piece. Dear Abby, I met this guy at work. He was everything I'm looking for in a guy. During a lunch walk, he told me about his breakup with his ex and how he moved out and bought a house. He lives with his son and nephews. Hold on a second, something just popped up and blocked here. He lives with his son and nephews and their family. The entire 2 months we dated were amazing. There may have been a couple of red flags my coworker and friends noticed. He couldn't message me often after work or on weekends. Okay. Now people are going to say, why are you saying this is narcissist, Pat? This is a woman who fell for this guy and now she's being taken advantage of by him. Who's a narcissist, him or her? Okay. And he was always busy with his kids, so he couldn't go on a date. He told me his ex was not in the picture, which I thought was odd since his son is only 2. I don't know why I decided to do some internet research on him. Well, because you were suspicious? Yeah. But I found out he actually is married and bought the house with that, quote, ex. When I confronted him about this, he insisted he had told me about it when we first started talking, which was not true. Now that the cat's out of the bag, he says he's getting back with her for his son, but still wants me in the picture as his side piece. I fell in love with him, Abby, and he says he loves me too. I don't think it's right to do this, but I don't want to stop talking to him. Should I block him and move on or stick around since he still wants me? Well, all right. So here's Abby's answer, because I never like her answers most of the time. But she has some good ones, but this one. Close your eyes, dig deep, and see if you can feel around and locate a shred of your self-esteem. Why would you be content to be a side piece in this philanderer's life? He doesn't love you. I doubt he loves you, but anyone but himself. True. He is a narcissist, 100% a narcissist, okay? Do yourself a giant favor. Quit listening to his sales pitch, block him, and find someone who can give you the love you crave. Okay. He's a narcissist, but what is she? Where are her ethics and morals? You know this man, first of all, is a lying piece of crap. You know he has a wife and a child, and you're wondering whether you should continue to see him secretly and still have sex with him and be his side piece. You have to think about this. I'm going to say you also have a problem with narcissism. You need a massive amount of attention. You need so much attention, you're willing to do this to get that attention. Now, some people will say, well, she's just that, Abby says, has low self-esteem. And, low self-esteem is often thrown around as an excuse for what I consider a personality disorder, that maybe it's not low self-esteem. Maybe the problem is that you love attention. You love attention, and you're going to get it in whatever way you can get it. Be damned with all the morals and ethics, or who you're hurting. You don't care. That's the sign of a narcissist. So we could argue over this, but I just always find it interesting how it's like he's a narcissist, but you just have low self-esteem. Both have terrible morals and should run off together. Well, and that's possible too. Birds of a feather. It is attention-seeking behavior, and it's just interesting that how often, again, remember, I've often said this about male-female things, that sometimes we have a situation where, because people believe that the male is more in power than the female, that therefore she cannot make choices for herself, that she is somehow unable to make choices because she's being manipulated by a man. But women manipulate men too. So it goes both ways. It really does. So yeah. But let's look at another case. This one just really, I'm like, this is Simone Biles' birth mother begs forgiveness over abandonment. Now, this is, she just was in the Olympics. She's a fantastic competitor and won all those gold medals. She's amazing. Her mother, not so much. The birth mother, by the way. All right, let me find it. And I'm looking at this case, and I'm like, what the heck? And of course, the media, appalling that they are, must jump in. This is now the New York Post here. Must jump in and get involved. So her mother is begging her for forgiveness for abandoning her. Now listen to the story. Okay. Shannon, I'm not sure how to pronounce it. It's Shanon. So I don't know. Shannon, maybe that's a version of Shannon. Shannon Biles remains hopeful that one day she'll be able to have a relationship with her daughter, 7-time Olympic gold medalist Simone Biles. But she said she's leaving that up to her 27-year-old to be the one to reach out. Except that she's already reaching out on the New York Post. I'm going to say she's not just reaching out. She's attacking, essentially, attacking her, putting this in the public eye to force her daughter to forgive her. There's massive narcissism if I've ever seen any. In a sit down with the Daily Mail, originally it was Daily Mail, but anyway, Shannon, the biological mother of the gymnastics star, expressed hope she would be able to one day ask the Olympian for forgiveness over her past. Okay. She had given up Simone and her younger sister to their grandfather and grandmother when the girls were just toddlers as she battled drug and alcohol addiction. All right, she gave up the kids to her, and I'm not saying that was a wrong thing to do. If you have a drug and alcohol problem, you shouldn't be raising those kids. They should be with somebody who can. Now, when she says she gave them up, I don't know if she gave them up or the grandparents went to court and said, we need to take these kids away from her. So I don't trust what she's even saying here. She says, I speak to Adria, I don't know how to pronounce, that's a sister, more than I speak to Simone. I I would just ask her to forgive me. Can we move forward? Don't judge me on my past. I'm sorry. You judge everyone on their past because that's their behavior. When somebody has behavior, that's what you pay attention to. Unless that behavior has changed so dramatically, where now the part of their past is so long ago that you have now 10 to 20 years of better past, in which case that's fine. People can change. People can fix up their lives. I'm not saying they can't, but the question is, have they? And have they done it in a proper way? Now, in my opinion, a proper way is not going to the Daily Mail and putting it out there all over the media now that your daughter's a massive star, to get her, push her into a corner so she will forgive you. All right. So she says, I just have to be patient. Well, you weren't patient. You went to the Daily Mail. So you're a liar. The outlet published an interview with Shannon just days after the close of the Summer Olympics. How useful. So Shannon said that she has been following the game back home in Ohio. Isn't that nice? She gathered her friends to watch. Despite the pride she took in seeing Simone continue her dominance in gymnastics, the two are not close because you abandoned her. And apparently, here's the thing. She's grown up now. You didn't abandon her for a year. You apparently abandoned her for a couple decades. There's a difference between the two. One is I gave custody up so I could get help, and my kids were more important to me than anything else in this world, so I got help. And within a year, I was okay. And that's why I came back into her. No, where have you been for a decade or a half, whatever. So she hasn't had much communication with her. What I hear about Simone, I hear through my dad. I speak to my dad all the time. We're good now. It was just his birthday, and I called to wish him happy birthday. If I need to know anything, I call my dad, ask him about Simone, and he keeps me posted. Ron and Levi Bellfield raised Simone and her sister in Houston, Texas, and provided the girls a stable home life they had struggled to find while living with their biological mother. While it's unclear how Simone views Shannon, the gymnast, and back in 2015, was quick to correct anyone who called her mother. Shannon told Daily Mail she is clean and sober and has been working as a cashier at Save-A-Lot, a discount grocery store. Okay, clean and sober for how long? Whereas I don't see that information, because I've always said this to people. You hook up with somebody who they're like an AA or NA, and you're hook up with them, and they're like, oh, let's start a relationship. I'm like, oh, well, wait a minute. How long have they been clean and sober? Not if it's been a month, that's meaningless. Been 6 months, that's pretty meaningless too. What you want to find out is, have they been clean and sober for at least a couple of years? And also, have they then established themselves a life? Have they gotten a job, a place to live? Are they all on their own and don't need you to foot their bills? Some people say, oh, well, the person's been clean for 6 months, so he moved into my house. Yeah, really? Yeah, they're not on their feet yet. They're using you. So nobody should date when you're in recovery. Recovery is not time for dating. Recovery is time for you to get your own act together. Until you have your act together, and you've had your act together long enough that you're not going back, you're not going to fall apart, and all that kind of stuff, where you've proven to yourself and to others that you have reached this point of sobriety and stability. That's when then you can reach out and say, hey, you're a very interesting person. I'd like to get to know you. And then you don't move in together. You get to know each other over a period of time so they can find out that you're truly stable and have your act together. This woman says, I'm clean and sober. How long? And you're working at Save-A-Lot, a discount grocery store. How long? She says, I'm not the person I used to be. I'm okay. Really? Okay, in your opinion. I'm a loving person. But she's so sad that she missed out on big parts of Simone's life. She wants the opportunity to tell Simone and Andrea how it really was during those early days, and wants to tell Simone that I love her and I'm very proud of her. Yeah, she wants to give her version of her story. Simone's biological father, Kevin Clemens, has also expressed a desire to build a relationship with her. And Shannon has told the outlet she was in contact with him. I guess he was missing in action as well. Thank God the sisters had good grandparents. Well, she does have a direct number to reach Simone. She said she wouldn't be the one to reach out first, but I'm going to do it on Daily Mail. So everyone knows what a crappy person you are if you don't respond, if you don't reach out to me. You're terrible. I have a direct number, but I won't use it because I have the media to do it for me. I want her to reach out to me. She's 27 now. She's married. I would have liked to have been part of that, but I'll just have to wait for her. You can't push anybody, but I'm pushing you right now through the media. Oh, massive narcissism. This is massive narcissism. And I would warn Simone and her sister. From what I see, she'll move in and use you and abuse you. She's not a changed person. I don't know how long. I say she's been quote clean and sober, but I wouldn't trust her as far as I could throw her because she's up to some pretty old tricks. And the old trick is not doing things in a way that is healthy for your children, but only for yourself. So unbelievable. Yeah, that's it. She's putting her on a guilt trip through the media, mind you, through the media. Oh my God. Lord. Yeah. If she had any motherly love inside her, she would not dare approach her now after all these years. Well, I could see that she might, but how she does it, first of all, she should be clean and sober for a really long time and have her act together. She could approach her in a kind and quiet way behind the scenes. But the fact that she would do this publicly tells me, don't trust her. Do not trust her at all. So, oh, Pat, she hasn't had a drink since she started her shift. And perhaps that is exactly true. Oh my gosh. Woof. Yeah. Unbelievable. And this is absolutely true. Just because you gave birth doesn't mean you're a mom. This is very true. And I wish people would understand that. As a mother of 2 biological kids and 1 adopted child, people have asked me if I'm the real mom of my son, and that always gets my goat. I'm like, yes, I am the real mom. Just because I didn't birth him doesn't mean I'm not the real mom. No, I'm not here to say anything bad about the mother who did birth him. Or we want to say the person who birthed him and did not choose to be a mother. But my son is now in his 40s, and I'm the woman who raised him. And I am his mother. Don't anybody ever dare to say anything that's not true. Just my son. And I'm his mother. And so anyway, let's look at another case. Oh, goodness gracious. And this case, this one just kind of blows me away too. This is, what's his name? I forgot his name. Okay, hold on a second. Let me find the story here. This is Steven Van de Velde. It was in the Olympics. And it says here, the heading is Olympic child rapist Steven Van de Velde breaks silence and shamelessly weeps. And here he is shamelessly weeping. He's the Netherlands volleyball player. After getting mercilessly booed at games. Now, what did he do? My problem, well, I do have a problem with 2 things. What he did and what he did now, okay? All right, he's a beach volleyball player. He was jailed for raping a British girl, and he was 19 at the time. She was 12 years old. He flew from his native Netherlands to the UK to meet his 12-year-old victim after grooming her on Facebook. He later received a 4-year sentence in 2016 after confessing to 3 counts of rape. But he only spent he got a very short time because he was sent back to the Netherlands. Let's see, I forgot what he got for his time. Let me go back to the story. Oh, okay. Following his conviction in 2016, he was released in 2017 after just 12 months in a Dutch prison. So he got only a year for what he did. He traveled to the UK to meet up with his victim and have sex with her. She described that she had met him through Facebook and they spoke regularly. He made her feel special. She certainly made it clear she was 7 years younger than him. In the beginning, she did lie, supposedly. This is all questionable and stuff through certain outlets like The Sun. But it seemed like she started saying she was 16, and then it came out that she was 12. And he supposedly knew that before he rolled over there. So after they got together, she told her family she was going to stay with a friend. She snuck out of the house and she met him at a hotel, but they couldn't make a booking. So they went to Furston Lake in town and drank Bailey's, and she performed a sex act on him. The pair slept in cardboard boxes under a stairwell at Premier Inn because they couldn't get a room. The following morning, she allegedly led him to her empty house where they had sex. Prior to his return to the Netherlands, he told the girl to get the morning after pill as they had not used contraception. Okay, so not only are you having sex with a juvenile and a 12-year-old juvenile, but you didn't even bother to use a condom. And now you just say, oh, by the way, I'm leaving, but go to the store and get some. Go get some morning after pill. So anyway, she went to a family planning clinic. She listened to him, which alerted authorities to her age. And then he was extradited to the UK, arrested, and that's that. And when he was released in 2017, he tried to defend himself and moaned that people weren't hearing his side of the story. A spokesperson said Van de Velde's lack of remorse and self-pity is breathtaking. All right, so, so the original problem is that you're 19 years old and you're going to have sex with a 12-year-old. And you're going from one country to another to have sex with that young person. And now his claim probably is that he was 19 and wasn't the brightest person at that age, which is true. That if he really thought she was 16, I can kind of see that. That isn't really astounding to me, because 16-year-old can be very, very adult-like and very, mature, and you can fall for her on a line and stuff. 12 is a problem. If they prove that he knew she was 12, and some 12-year-olds can be pretty also mature looking. But once you find out they're 12, a 19-year-old should know you can't have sex with a 12-year-old. 16, 15, 12, no. The child is in elementary school or the beginning of middle school. And that, by the way, is not a pedophile. He's not a pedophile. He's an ephebophile. He just likes them young, and he was young himself, so 19. So not quite the same as a 40-year-old having sex with a 12-year-old, but still not right. Okay, so anyway, what he did was wrong. He got caught. He got convicted. That's his first problem, was that he did something that was illegal and immoral. And somehow he got married and had a kid. Now he's all pissed off. What is he pissed off about? Let me tell you what he's pissed off about. He is pissed off that, where is it here? What did he say? That, oh, here we go. But hurting people around me. He's upset about people calling him a child rapist and people booing him. He said, I did something wrong 10 years ago, and I have to accept that. Yeah, you should have gotten 4 years and not 1 year. But anyway, yeah, you have to accept that. You did not only just do something wrong, you did something illegal and immoral. You're a child rapist. That's not a cool thing. That's not just something wrong. It's bigger than that. I have to accept that. Okay, fine. Did you really accept that? Because this is what he says. But hurting people around me, whether it's Matthew, my wife, or my child, that just goes too far for me. Too far. Wait a minute. Didn't it go too far for you that you raped a 12-year-old? Apparently not. You were just pissed off you got caught. Now, if you really understood that you had done something horrifically wrong, the last thing you do is put yourself in the public eye and then have people bring that up again. Because if you cared about your wife and child more than you cared about your little volleyball career, you would have said to your wife and child, look, what I did was abhorrent when I was 19. It was immoral. It was unethical, and it was horrific. And that you even care about me is amazing. I'm never going to ever put you in a situation where people are going to talk about what I did and hurt you in that way. He didn't say that. He's pissed at other people doing it, even though he's the one responsible. Massive narcissist, if not a psychopath. What a piece of crap. You are responsible for doing what happened to your wife and child. You didn't care about your wife and child. You only cared about your little volleyball career. That's where it comes. And he says this, that's definitely a moment where I thought, only that moment, is this worth it? Wouldn't you think, maybe you should have thought your wife and child were worth it before you did what you did and go in the Olympics and have all this dirty laundry aired? So there you go. Another example. Oh, well, yeah, the child belongs to him. Yes, that would be true. No kidding. Crimea River. Yep, he did. They apparently did not think it was that big a deal. Yeah. I'm always amazed at this stuff of needing. You're 19 years old. There's a lot of. He's not that bad looking a dude. I mean, you can't find another 19-year-old or an 18-year-old. I never understand this crap. I don't. But yeah, the girls. But hey, just go in the Olympics and make sure that everybody finds out about what you did. Which they're going to. You're going to be in the spotlight. Somebody's going to say something. You didn't care about your wife and child. But that's not surprising because you didn't care about the 12-year-old either. So he's a piece of garbage. So we have some interesting examples here. People who don't take actual responsibility for themselves. That's because they're narcissists, if not psychopaths, but narcissists for sure. That other people, it's their fault. And I should be able to get away with whatever I want to get away with. And everybody else should bow down to me. So those are 3 examples. The first one was minor, but I mean, yeah. No, he already has kids. He's got a son. You already got somebody out there. Anyway, so let's see. I want to talk about, this is just a quick thing here. Murdaugh, his double murder conviction could get thrown out after a stunning decision that there's this clerk that supposedly might have done jury tampering because she opened her big mouth about a book she was writing. And now they're thinking of throwing the whole thing out. And we have an interesting problem these days. And the problem for me is this. It's not that everybody shouldn't have a fair trial, but that the level of nitpicking to prove not a fair trial has gotten so ridiculous. I mean, outrageous, where the defense attorneys, I don't know how they're getting paid, so that they have all this time on their hands to literally go through every single thing and say, oh, look, this tiny piece of useless evidence was left out, even though it wasn't even evidence. It was something that wasn't even meaningful. And then the case gets thrown out. That's kind of, this happens so much now. And there's these huge teams of people that are supported by some, I think, major organizations who, like the Innocence Project and the people supporting the Innocence Project, who aren't looking for the big things that, hey, this shouldn't have happened. They're finding other little things that you just go, what? So you spend this huge amount of money, you put the jury through all this, the guy's found guilty, and now you can nitpick on something. And maybe if you think jury tampering is that easy, maybe you should get rid of that damn civilian jury system and go to my professional jury system. But, do we have to go through all of this again? It's so annoying. Oh, he did. He did what? I had her son tapping the phones in the courthouse. Oh, for God's sakes. I did not hear that. And she was writing a book. That was what it came down to. She's writing a book. But the question is, did it influence the jury? And that's really the question. And I know, I think this is the question. They haven't made their decision yet, but it's just frustrating. It's just absolutely frustrating that to stay with, I mean, the big picture as opposed to things that, can they be wrong? Yes, but did the wrong thing affect in any reasonable way the verdict? And that's a good question. Now, speaking of that, this is an interesting case, and I'll try to explain it to you. I'll try, because it's really kind of bizarre, and I don't know entirely where I stand on it. Let me see. Okay, let me find it. Where'd it go? Hold on a second. I'm looking at the little pictures again, trying to figure out where I put the little picture. Okay, hold on. Where'd he go? Where'd he go? Ah, here he is. It's very small. Okay, this guy. Today, Brooklyn's DA Conviction Review Unit, the CRU, exonerated Arvel Marshall for a 2008 murder. The CRU cited exculpatory video withheld by trial prosecutor. Okay, so this guy supposedly, let me find you the story. And this is why I always tell you, you have to be very careful about major media stories. They only tell you one major media. This is how it works. One outlet of the media will come up with a story. They'll throw it out there, and then everyone else will just plagiarize. They don't bother to actually interview anybody or make their own phone calls. They just take that story and then repeat it like a game of telephone. And so the problem with that is that you will find then 50 stories, 100 stories with the same information. And you'll go, well, this is what the information is. This must be what it is. I had to work really hard to find out more information on this case. Now, let me see if where I can find. Okay, that's not the one I want. Hold on, maybe it's this one. All right, no, that's not it. Sorry, gotta find it. And 1 second. Where's the one where they released the guy? Oh, there we go. Okay. This came out in the New York Times. Okay. Now, this guy, for years, this is the headline. For years, he demanded to see the video. Finally, it set him free. At his murder trial, this guy, Arvel Marshall, pressed prosecutors to turn over surveillance footage of the crime scene. He knew it would show the truth. All right. As his murder trial began in 2009, he made a desperate plea to his lawyer, asked for surveillance videos of the Brooklyn street where he was accused of fatally shooting a 22-year-old man. Mr. Marshall's lawyers made a half-hearted request for the footage. The prosecutor said initially it didn't exist, then that it was not accessible, and then the judge moved the trial along. Mr. Marshall was convicted and sentenced to 25 years to life in prison. But on Friday, after Mr. Marshall had been incarcerated for 16 years, prosecutors with the Brooklyn District Attorney's Office said he'd been right all along and asked the court to overturn his conviction. Now, remember how I've told you that we're not doing the appeal system much anymore in the U.S. We're skipping the appeal system where you appeal it because there was something wrong with what happened in the courtroom, something, and you either got new evidence or something was mishandled, and it goes back to court and another jury figures out whether the person is guilty or not. Now they're skipping that. And behind the scenes, they're having district attorneys, prosecutors, the new ones, 20 years on, saying, oh, this person didn't really do it, and just letting them go. Why are they doing this? Do they ever have to prove they're correct? And the answer to that is no. They actually don't have to prove it to the public. So it never goes back to the court system. It's this weird thing where it skips the whole court system entirely and becomes a decision made by a couple of people in a specific office. Now, a lot of times I've seen that decisions being made for political reasons and not because the person was not guilty. This case is weird. You'll see what I'm saying about this in a minute. So they let him out. So they said they've overturned the conviction. The video in question, captured from a nearby building, showed two men, neither of them Mr. Marshall, walking down a Crown Heights street toward where Mustafa Umaria was sitting outside his home with three friends. One of the two, whose clothing matched a witness's description, is seen, quote, removing an object from his waistband, handling the object by his right hip. Shortly afterwards, Mr. Umaria was shot in the head. The same men run in the opposite direction, the footage shows. Everyone involved in this case, defense, prosecution, police, and the court, failed, depriving Mr. Marshall of a fair trial. That's what his attorney says. This critical piece of evidence, this video of a different man shooting the victim, was not turned over. That's what you're gonna get out. You're gonna get that out of this, right? So Mr. Marshall shook his head and smiled Friday afternoon as they ordered the conviction vacated. Mr. Marshall hugged his lawyer, thanked the judge. Behind him, his relatives clapped and whooped in the gallery. So anyway, it was overturned. And it talks about this unit is also examining 60 other convictions and getting tons of them overturned. So I don't know what this unit is and why they're doing this and at whose behest. But it's interesting. Is this unit an Innocence Project version? And I'm not against oversight. I like oversight. My question is, why? What is the oversight doing, and why is it doing it? This group that does this comprises of 14 people, including lawyers and investigators. Okay, sounds good. It almost sounds like a professional jury. But the question I have is, when it's done all behind the scenes, why are we not getting information? Do we really know why? And that's the problem I have. So anyway, at the time of the conviction, prosecutors said he had killed Mr. Umaria out of jealousy. Okay, now let me stop here. I was wondering, why the heck was this guy even convicted? You know, why him? Why did they pick him? Okay, and remember, Mr. Umaria, who got shot, was sitting with three friends. There were three witnesses at the time he got shot. Yet when this guy was convicted, why aren't those three witnesses saying that's not the dude who did it? That was the first question that popped in my head. Then I'm like, why was he even a suspect to begin with? Well, it turns out that the prosecutor said he killed Mr. Umaria out of jealousy over an on-again, off-again girlfriend that they shared. But he said he was innocent. Okay. So far, the question is, to me, was why didn't the three guys who's sitting with him, how could they not say that wasn't this guy? There are three of them, not one, three of them. So I'm like, how does this make sense? And yet this guy that they did, witnesses actually did end up saying was the guy, was actually connected, and they had just had an argument over this girlfriend. Okay, let me read you the next thing. So I had to go search and search and search. And I found what was called People versus Marshall. So it takes a while. This was an appeal he was trying to get out. All right, here's this more of the story. On July 15th, 2008, about 9:30 p.m., Abdul Salam Zakari, Tete Ete Benison, Abdullah Zibo, and the victim, Al-Mustafa Umaria, were sitting on a stoop on Albany Avenue in Brooklyn, drinking and smoking cigarettes. They were suddenly approached by a thin, dark-skinned man, dressed in a white shirt, dark jeans, and a dark hat. Neither Benison nor Zibo had ever seen the man before. I don't know why. There's one more guy. Did Zakari have seen him? It doesn't say here. The man started firing a gun. Umaria was shot and killed. Now here they're saying they were approached by a one man. They didn't say they were approached by two men. They said they were approached by one man. Where'd the other guy go? Why don't they say two men approached and one of them shot? And they did not know who he was. Once the defendant became a suspect, a detective composed a photo array using the New York City photo management database. So they had a photo array, which is proper, as opposed to, was this the guy? I've seen that happen. Was this the guy? Well, yeah. They did a photo array. Benison viewed the photo array and identified the defendant as the shooter. All 3 witnesses then identified the defendant in a lineup. At trial, a detective testified that he placed the defendant under arrest immediately after the 3 witnesses separately viewed the lineup. The people also adduced evidence that the defendant had once gone to the victim's place of work where they had a dispute regarding a woman with whom they had both been involved. So he got second-degree murder on that. Okay. So now we have that answers to me. It's like, so the 3 guys saw only one guy approach. They all 3 identified this guy in a photo lineup, plus the fact that the 2 men had just been in a dispute over this girl. So that was motive. Now, was that enough to convict? I wasn't in the courtroom, but I want to point out one more thing on this. Okay, hold on a sec. Let me see if I can find the last bit that I thought was very interesting. Okay. Yeah, sorry, I'm trying to find where it was. Okay, here we go. So, all right. So now let's go to the what they had, the overturning part about this video, because now I'm saying, okay, well, you got 3 guys who identified that guy who was imprisoned as the guy who did it. So what does the video actually show? Because you're saying the video shows a different guy, a guy with a white shirt, the same white shirt, but with a different guy, with 2 people, and shooting them. And it isn't him. All right. So now we have, let's see, what did the video say? Okay. So the CRU was able to view the surveillance footage. Now, mind you, we're not going to get to see that surveillance footage, just the CRU, which bothers me right here. Again, it's being kept private, which included 2 different angles. The footage shows a young man wearing a white t-shirt and dark pants, matching exactly the description of the shooter, walking along with another individual wearing all black. The footage shows the first man reaching under his shirt on his right side, removing an object from his waistband, handling the object by his right hip, then lowering his shirt back over his waist. Okay, what right here is a problem. What's the problem right here with that part of the video? Yeah, all 3. Yes, all 3 witnesses did identify him. This is correct. One in a photo lineup, and then all of them in an actual lineup. So, no, the guy that has nothing to do with it, because the guy who committed the crime was black. That's all. It doesn't matter. It has nothing to do with race. Okay, no, here's my question. What did he pull out of his right side? Can you tell me what he pulled out from under his shirt on his right side? Yeah, the witnesses were the guy on the stoop. Yes, thank you. We don't know what the object is. This is correct. We do not know what the object is. They never said he pulled out a gun. So if he didn't pull out a gun, they couldn't see it was a gun. This must be one crappy. Originally, what the prosecution said and the police said was it was such bad video, they couldn't tell anything from it. Now, so the guy reaches down. A lot of people keep their phones, and he might have his phone on his side and look at his phone and put it back. We don't know that it was a gun because it was such a bad video. We don't have any view of that. All right, now let's go further. So now he takes this object out and then lowers his shirt back, and then lowers his shirt back. When the 2 men go off screen, the footage shows 2 older men walking in the street in the same direction as the 2 young men. At one point, the 2 older men stop and look back at the area of the shooting, then start walking back in the opposite direction while glancing over their shoulders. Moments later, the younger men in white and black are seen sprinting down the street away from the area of the shooting, never looking behind them. The one with the white shirt is seen with his right arm extended straight down by his side and slightly away from his body, what appears to be holding something. Well, this something could be a freaking phone. I just don't know. All right. A police note attached to the disc containing the surveillance footage lists several timestamps, none of which include the pertinent portions. The footage, which the defendant in the front of the jury repeated asked to be shown to the jury, is grainy, but seems to point to a different suspect. Seems to. Doesn't say it does. Seems to. What does that? What the heck is seems to? Seems to point to a different suspect. That makes no sense. It either does or it does not. If it pointed to a different suspect, you would say, well, that was clearly, let's say, a white guy with blonde hair who was 6'5", and he was holding a gun in his hand, pointing it at you don't have to seems anything there. Now, what they're saying it seems to, first of all, they have the timestamps are questionable. It's grainy as heck. They don't know if he has a gun in his hand, and they don't even know if it's the guy. Unbelievable. So, seems to point to a different suspect. The CRU concluded that the videos were favorable to the defense and should have been turned over. Now you have the story. Favorable. Not proving him innocent. Should they have been turned over? All right. I personally think they should have been turned over. That can be a violation. I don't object to that they should have been turned over. That's the old issue about the exculpatory evidence type of thing. But this in no way proves this guy's innocent. So they're saying he didn't get a fair trial because if the jury had seen this video, they might have decided it could have been somebody else. This is the old could have been thing. And this is used all over the place with the defense. We hear this. There's a tiny piece of information. They go, well, that means it could have been this person or it could have been another person, not him. You could say that with just about any case, and that's what they do all the time in these cases. Adnan Syed is one of them. They would say, well, it could have been somebody else. And the police had written down scribbled some notes on they got some information. So they scribbled a note on a napkin or something, and they discounted it because it didn't make any sense. Oh, but the defense says they should have turned that over because they pointed, it could have been somebody else. This is where I call the technicality thing of the Innocence Project and other things like this, political stuff, where if we release somebody from prison, we make points. And what they're not saying, which is what bothers me, is we cannot say this guy is innocent. What we're saying is he didn't get a fair trial due to the fact that this could have led the jury in a different direction. Could have. But they're not saying that. And I had to go search for this information because not one media channel pointed out that all the witnesses identified him. He had just had a disagreement with the guy who they were sharing a woman. And this video is pretty much crap. Now, I also don't know more about the actual guy who got convicted. Like, did he actually have a gun? Did he threaten the gun? All this stuff is missing information. I was lucky to get as much information as I did. And this is why it drives me crazy, because I don't have an objection to having to follow the law and doing things right. I have an objection to the fact that we're not honest about it. This is not honesty by the press. And so most people will say, oh my God, the guy was 100% innocent because the video showed that he didn't do it. That is not true. Complete lie. Just annoys the hell out of me because, it's just not true. Well, who knows who it was? It could, here's the thing. What if the guys were walking by? This happened in back in the I'm blanking here. The DC snipers. DC sniper. They were looking for a freaking white truck for the longest time in the DC sniper murder. Those guys are running around doing the spree killings in DC, and I was here for that, so I experienced it. They were looking for a white truck. Why? Because at one of the crimes, which was at a gas station, somebody got shot, and somebody saw a white truck speeding away. I'm going to say the white truck speeding away is not necessarily the person that the guy that committed the shooting wasn't necessarily in there, because if you hear a shot and see somebody drop to the ground and I'm in a white truck, I'm going to be putting my foot to the floorboard. I'm going to get the hell out of there. How do we know these two guys walking by, a guy was taking out his phone when he heard the shot and they ran like hell? Nobody proved that was a gun, and nobody proved nothing except that they were running away at some point, probably because I heard a damn gunshot. This is where it's such a big fat lie and drives me crazy. Oh. So, yeah, it's, yeah, I get very, very upset about, I don't like lying. I don't like lies. I don't like misleading stuff. And it's so difficult sometimes to even pay attention to what's ever said, because you just don't know whether you're being misled. And people believe the documentaries are just as bad. Whatever their agenda is, that's what they're going to go with. And then you think you're being, oh my God, this must be so. Because everybody's so confident too. This is the thing, you get the confidence thing. So, and when you see a story like this come out, and it's in hundreds of media outlets, top media outlets, New York Times, top media outlet, saying that, oh my God, he's been exonerated because the video proved he didn't do it. And it's not true. It's absolutely a lie. And look how hard I had to work to find out that it was a lie. Do I think the guy's guilty? Probably. I think he probably did do it. That's why they identified him, and he was the one with the motive. Now they're claiming now that this guy was dealing drugs, and somebody called in a tip that, some drug person went dead, so somebody came and shot him because he was on their territory. So this now is the story. But there's no proof of it. There's absolutely none. Oof. You've never had tacos. What's wrong with you? Have tacos. They're grand. Good tacos, that is. Let's see. Well, the point being, they're all questionable. That's the problem. That the media doesn't spend time doing their own work. In other words, in my opinion, unless you actually speak to these people personally and get the story straight and are able to ask all the questions, you shouldn't even be reporting it. I would rather see one media outlet with a story than 500 of them, because I know they're all plagiarizing. And because they're plagiarizing, every time you go look, if you look on Google, you'll get 10 pages of the same story. And you think, well, must be true. And I have to put in special keywords to try to get to the truth. And so it took me a while to get to those 2 other pieces of information. Nobody else is going to see that crap. Believe me, it was probably just me, because nobody else is looking, because they've gone there. If you don't know how to find it, and sometimes I can't find it either, you're never going to get the truth. And you're just going to believe what they say and think, oh my God, well, thank God they got this poor man out of prison. And all those other people are going to get out of prison. But I don't know what, again, I like oversight, but I just don't understand this kind of oversight. So this oversight seems to be more of a technical, not an innocence project. It's like the Innocence Project. They're not looking for innocent people. They're looking for technicalities to get back at the prosecutions. And do we need to improve maybe the prosecutions? Sure. Not all prosecutors do things right, believe you me. But then the question comes down to is, how do you even have a system if you're going to get to the point where you're going to get people out on just literally everything, every single thing, because you didn't have the perfect police officer, the perfect prosecutor, the perfect this and the perfect that. My theory is, again, totality. The totality of evidence. If the totality of evidence is there and solid, that should be good enough. And just because one person scribbled a note on a piece of napkin thinking it was meaningless and didn't turn it over to the defense should not completely trash the entire case. But yeah, that's correct. Doesn't matter. They're not reliable. And the unfortunately, the media journalism is, as they say, sort of dead. Let me just talk about this one, because I was asked about this poor fella. And what's interesting about it is in 2007, this guy named Donnie Farrell was killed in New Jersey. And there was evidence, the video evidence of this was really good. So this poor guy, what happened was, and I'll tell you why I think they never solved the case. Okay, let's see, where is it? Well, okay, where'd he go? Here we go. All right. So it says a misplaced phone number could have solved a campus murder 10 years ago. Well, so this is he was 19 years old. Okay, this young man. And what happened was this. He was walking along and, before the killer, and the killer's the guy right there in the picture there. All right, that guy. Before he killed this young man, he stopped at the Express Mart on Route 322 and purchased cigars. Trying in vain to woo a woman in the convenience store, he wrote his phone number on the back of an old lottery ticket and left behind the counter. Gave it to her. Says, "Hey, it's my son. It's me, babe." I think he called himself Smoke or something. I gotta look for that part. He was wearing a hoodie, for which was a very limited supply, only 50 of them supposedly. And this was the hoodie. They even had. This is the hoodie he was wearing. And it's very expensive. I looked it up. It's like $200 to $300 on that hoodie. Fancy thing. And he said, despite all the ways he could be traced, his identity remains a mystery. Authorities have pursued the case for 10 years, only know his nickname Smoke. Now, he was at a certain location. He wrote his phone number down, told this girl his nickname was Smoke, and he's wearing a hoodie, which is kind of a rare hoodie and only sold in so many stores. So what the heck happened? Now, after it was homecoming, and he was a sophomore, 19 years old. He played lacrosse and baseball, and he was out with friends on Saturday night after the football game. A group. Now, this is where the important part comes in. A group of 4 or 5 people approached him as he was with his friends near the Triad Apartments. Farrell stuck behind to speak with them. Obviously, just one of these nice guys. He said, "Hey, dude," So the guy, he goes back and goes to speak to his 4 or 5 people. And suddenly 1 or 2 of them attacked Farrell, punching and kicking him before he dropped to the ground. He was hit in the neck before the assailants fled with his wallet and cell phone. This was a robbery. It was just a simple robbery. And let's not go race stuff on this. It's simple fact that they were college kids and these are some hoodlums. That's all. It doesn't matter whether they're white or black. It's just he looked like he might have something on him that was worth stealing, and this little group of thugs attacked him. Okay, and I don't think they intended to kill him. They punched him and kicked him because that's what you do when you're attacking somebody trying to get their stuff off them. But unfortunately, when they hit him in the neck, it ruptured an artery, so he died. So, now that doesn't mean you shouldn't be charged with a murder because you committed a murder. But I'm just pointing out that I don't think their intent was to murder him. I think their intent was just robbing him, and they punched him and kicked him and grabbed his stuff and ran. And probably the next day they're like, "Oh, crap. Well, we killed the guy, Anyway, they pursued leads for years. For the lottery ticket, they found the woman who received it and went through her trash, her car, anywhere that she might have discarded the man's number. They couldn't find it. She's not sure what she did with it. Well, you got some creepy dude, gives you a number in a convenience store and you go, "Yeah, sure." So that's not surprising. The Australian company, I don't know how to pronounce the name of the company, only made 50 of the hoodies that Smoke was wearing. They distributed the hoodies to 23 stores in New York and New Jersey. And they visited all the stores trying to find out who this guy was who might have purchased it. Now, the question is right here, did he purchase it? Because it's very expensive and he's got to rob people on the street. He either robbed people on the street in order to get money to purchase things like that, or he stole it. Or somebody else purchased it and he stole it from them. Now, that may be why they can't link him. So they also said the guy said made a comment that he was from Atlantic City. So they went and looked there and they couldn't find Smoke. And they they just looked everywhere and couldn't come up with anything. They know he was 6 feet tall, between 18 and 24 years old. And he said he was Smoke from AC, referring to Atlantic City. And they couldn't come up with anything. Now, the problem is it's a street crime. And even though they have a picture of the guy, a video of him, his buddies aren't turning him in, and probably his family isn't turning him in either, especially if he says this to the family. "We didn't mean to kill the guy. We were just trying to he was just looked like some rich kid. We're just going to take his money and grab his phone." We talked to him. He said something stupid. They can even make up stuff. He said something stupid, it was annoying, so we decided to punch him and grab his stuff. And I don't know how the heck it was a freak accident that he died. So you have a family that goes, "Oh my God, we don't want our son, our brother, to go away for life when this wasn't the intention. We're not going to turn his butt in." And then his little thug friends are thugs too. So they're not going to turn him in. So probably the problem is no one will rat him out. So that's why it's unsolved. It's not surprising. The police seem to have done a good job, and just sometimes you can't prove stuff. It is actually not. I actually did look that up to see whether that was maybe some issue in that, and it doesn't seem to be true at all. So no, it's not. So it's not. That's not. I don't think anything has anything to do with the racial stuff. Just they were just some places. There were just some crimes going on, and he got nailed. And so yeah. So anyway, that was that one. Then I had a question about this case, which I thought was interesting. This is the case of in Lynchburg, a guy named John Cashman was murdered. Died in 2022. Now, his sister is very upset. She thinks that there were no charges filed in his death. And what happened was this guy was over at his house. This kind of homeless dude was staying with them for 3 days. And he was there when the guy was either something happened, and he leaves and he's walking out of this apartment, and he actually uses his shirt to take his fingerprints off of the doorknob. So, and then the guy's found dead, and in the apartment, there's blood everywhere like this. And it was ruled a natural death. And the homeless guy who was staying with him, the guy gave him a place to stay, cleaning off getting his fingerprints off the thing as he left, had nothing to do with what happened to the guy. Sister says, "Oh, that's ridiculous. Clearly the guy did something to him." There was a video that came out. See, after he died, he was cremated, and then the neighbor found this Ring video and showed it to her, and it showed this guy leaving the house, wiping off the doorknob and taking off. And she's like, "Well, the police haven't done anything, and they keep saying it was a natural death. How is this possible?" What do you think? Doesn't that sound strange? Doesn't that sound really weird? But I looked into it, and yes, I believe it was absolutely a natural death. And so this is why you have to be very careful when families do not ever, when there's certain things happen, they don't want to go with natural death or suicide. They want to believe the person is murdered. I say this over and over. They prefer murder than some other conclusions. I think it's just something about they want to blame somebody besides the person who died. Now you say, well, how could you blame this guy? If it was a natural death, why would you blame him? Well, the problem was the guy was a serious alcoholic. And this is what the police believed happened. A crime scene expert reviewed the photos. In his opinion, the blood pattern, the amount of blood, locations of blood in the apartment, and on the deceased were consistent with a gastrointestinal bleed. In other words, there was just a rupture, and he started bleeding of all parts of his body. And they found fecal matter in some of the blood. They found it in strange places where clearly it wasn't, like nobody else appeared to be involved in it. They also only had his footprints in the blood and not the guy that was staying with him. And there was not one sign of any kind of assault. So what we have here is a severe alcoholic who finally the alcoholism got to him, and that caused his death. And the homeless dude who was staying with him, who may not be the greatest character ever, because he's like, well, I wiped my prints off because I didn't want anybody to know I was staying there because I have a record. He's not a good guy. But when you put two characters together and both of them have issues, just because something happens doesn't mean one did something to the other necessarily. And so that's one of the problems of jumping to conclusions. Just because you've got another person there, you can easily point the finger at. So I see nothing in that crime. Oh, it's not a crime. Nothing in that death that shows me. The bleeding was from it's a massive amount of bleeding. It's massive. It's horrible. And so it's just one of those things that when they, this is from last week. No, he did not put an eel up his butt. But I went to Reddit on this, and there were a lot of nurses who came in and saying, "Oh yeah, I've seen that before." There are a lot of people, EMTs came in, "I've seen that before." So this is not a completely unique thing. When a person starts gushing blood, the problem is they often will try to, it'll maybe come and go, stop, and they'll try to clean up. Oh, well, what happened there, and by the time they figure out that they're feeling weak and about to pass out, it's too late to call 911, and they just keel over. So it's just unfortunate, but that's the way it goes. But not always is this a murder, and so that was. I think they came to the right conclusion, but it's one of those things that people, especially families, they somehow want to believe it's murder because it takes away. In other words, when they show the pictures of the guy, they're always showing him with a cat and with a nephew or something. It's always happy looking pictures. And the problem is the person's living in the conditions he was living in for that many years, being an alcoholic. My guess is you could find a lot of pictures of him that don't look nearly as cheerful and happy and perfect. But that's the way the family wants to remember their loved one. They don't want to remember them in the condition that they're in, when that's, they probably, unfortunately, contributed to their own demise. But yeah, it's but okay, so I want to go to this. I want to talk about this case. I was asked about I talked before about this case. This is the Russell case, and it was she was Lynn and Megan Russell were murdered in 1996 when they were tied up and attacked with a hammer. Lynn's eldest daughter, Josie, was critically injured. So the three of them are out walking about. Two of them got murdered with a hammer. Okay. Now, this is a famous UK case. The guy who was convicted was Michael Stone. He was convicted of killing the woman and her daughter. Now, I talked about this case prior, as whether I thought he was the guilty party, because there wasn't physical evidence connecting him to the crime. Now, he was, though, convicted of the murders of Lynn and Megan Russell and the attempted murder of Josie Russell, sentenced to 3 life sentences. And now there are people saying he didn't do it. Poor guy has been in prison for all these years for a crime he didn't commit. Now, first of all, I want to say this. Even if he didn't commit the crime, he's exactly where he needs to be. The guy is a violent criminal. And he has hammered people to other people. So let me tell you a little bit about, just so you don't have to feel too sorry for him if you think he's actually innocent. I'm not saying that if he didn't commit the crime, he shouldn't be in prison, but let's just point out what he really was. Okay, so as a boy, he'd been beaten with a hammer. He was placed before he got placed in a care home, and witnessed his mother's former partner attack another man with a meat cleaver. All right. He was known to be prone to uncontrolled outbursts and aggressive mood swings. And from the age of 9, he began using drugs and committing crimes. The crimes started at the age of 12. That's the record. And continued into adulthood. He used heroin, served 3 prison sentences for robbery, burglary, grievous bodily harm, and assault, occasioning actual bodily harm. He was known to carry weapons, including knives and guns, and would also attack victims with ammonia squirted from a Jif lemon bottle. He became a figure in the criminal underworld of the Medway towns of Kent. All right. He got 2 years imprisonment for attacking a man with a hammer during a robbery. Then he got 4.5 years for stabbing a friend while he slept in 1983, an attack that penetrated the friend's lung and nearly killed him. And he tried to wound a police officer in the eye after his arrest. When he was sentenced for this crime, the sentencing judge remarked that his violent nature could lead him to killing somebody in the future. Yes. And then he was sentenced to 10 years imprisonment for 2 armed robberies. Let's see, what else did he do? He stole from garden sheds, taking anything he could find to support his heroin addiction. He attacked prison officers in prison. He was known to have been violent toward his partners. He once beat his girlfriend so badly she went to the police and they took evidence of the pictures of her. She'd received 2 black eyes, a swollen mouth, and heavy bruising. Let's see, what else did he do? Then he was released from prison in 1993. He had a history of severe mental illness. He'd been sectioned to a mental hospital in Hull in 1994. and diagnosed with a personality disorder and paranoid psychosis. Interesting, I want to point out, you can be a psychopath and have psychosis. So that's a problem. People seem to think you're either a psychopath or you're maybe a schizophrenic and have psychotic issues. No, they can sometimes come together. One being you're already a psychopath and then you developed schizophrenia or you developed psychotic stuff from all the drugs you're doing, maybe. So anyway, they found him too dangerous to put into another facility. Then he became a suspect in a 1976 murder of a person named Francis Jugot, I think something like that. 65-year-old Guernsey man who was a former special constable. He was found stabbed to death, and he had head injuries from being kicked repeatedly. He told psychiatrists he did it when he was robbing them. Let's see, what else did he do? Stone's sister Barbara, who was always protested her brother's innocence of the Russell murders, said that he believed he had killed the man, saying, "Yeah, well, I do think he did do that, you know." Okay, so he also accidentally killed his partner by injecting him with too much heroin. Let's see, pushed a man underneath a train. He was questioning the murder of 64-year-old Mary Town. Oh, another man was convicted. Okay, so he didn't do that one. So then the Russell murders came along, and it was supposedly a robbery gone bad. All right, so he was basically the claim was he was in the area, and what's the evidence? He had no alibi for the day of the murders. Said he couldn't say where he was. He was available to do the murders. He did know the area very well. People were hit, or he was into hammering people, and they were hammered. Let's see. There was confusion over the car was his or not his. One said white, one said beige. The day after the attack, friends noticed that his clothing was bloodstained, and he refused to enter the home as usual. He claimed he was in a fight, but there were no marks on him. So, and then he burned his clothes. Okay, I'm not going to get into all the trials and all the evidence, but now what they're now saying that, oh my God, he didn't do it. And they're saying this guy did it. Levi Bellfield, who was a serial killer. And he murdered women. And he did also kind of like hammers along with other items. So you have two guys that are both bad people and both need to be in prison for the rest of their lives. There's not an issue with that. But this says here, let's see, where is this here? And we get to David Wilson, good old David Wilson. Remember, I just did a show on the what's the name of that? Sorry, blanking here. What's the name of the woods? Tarot? Oh, shoot, I gotta look it up. Hold on. Templeton. Sorry, the Templeton Woods murders. I just did a show on that, and David Wilson has this. He's the guy in the middle. He has this horrible documentary show, and he was abysmal in analyzing those murders. And I couldn't believe anything he said, so I wasn't impressed. But apparently, now what he's saying is he's investigated the possibility that Levi Bellfield could be, or Bellfield could be responsible. Bellfield. For the murders, and not the other fellow, not Stone, but this guy. So now we have David Wilson, who is a criminologist. Of course, he's doing television shows, so don't ever believe anything in a television show, because what they do is say, "Hey, we don't want to stick with the Stone theory. He's already in prison. Now they're saying he could be innocent, and this Bellfield guy supposedly confessed he did it, and that's what the defense team is saying. So why don't you go there?" That's how they do it in these documentaries. So David Wilson investigated the possibility that Levi Bellfield could be responsible for the murders in an episode of his Killers Behind Bars. He didn't investigate anything. He was given some information by the documentary people, and he decided to go with whatever they told him to, probably. He stated that he doubted the strength of Stone's conviction. All right, I don't have a problem with doubting the strength of it. In particular, highlighting that cell confessions are notoriously unreliable. Hey, I forgot he confessed as well. And conveyed his surprise that this was the basis for Stone's conviction. And I don't think it was his sole basis, but He also cited a letter from the prisoner, Alan King, who was that was a guy who said he confessed. Anyway, Wilson also concluded in the program that it was unlikely that, oh, wait a minute. Oh, okay, I'm going to give him a break here. Give him a small break here. Okay, I did not read this part before. Okay, Wilson, I'll give you a break. Wilson also concluded in the program that it was unlikely that Bellfield was responsible for the murders. This guy. A guy I thought he was just going on now, one of them did it. I mean, I think it's kind of unlikely that Stone didn't do it and Bellfield didn't do it. Stone, I think, did do it. I don't think Bellfield did do it. And he says, and this is correct, I'll give him credit on this. He said, unlikely Bellfield was responsible for the murder, citing a number of differences in the way the crimes were carried out. Okay, particularly because Bellfield's known crimes occurred in urban London, while the murders of the Russells occurred in rural Kent. Now, I don't know that that's my main reasoning. I think that Colin Sutton, who did do a lot with the Bellfield crimes, I like Colin Sutton a lot. He's the guy that turned down running the Scotland Yard Operation Grange review of the Madeleine McCann case, because he said, if you're going to eliminate the parents before I even start, I'm not going to work with you. He's been very outspoken, and he's one of the very few people in the UK who's a professional and a detective who said that a lot of the stuff that's happening with the Madeleine McCann case is crap and doesn't support the media angle or the McCanns. So I'm impressed by this guy for that reason alone. But he said this, and I think this is where I think he's more accurate maybe than Wilson as far as his statement. Let me find it. Hold on. Looking for it. Where is it? No, where is it? What the heck is going on here? Okay. Oh, it's further back. That's what happened. Okay. There we go. Okay, maybe I have lost it. Hold on. Where did it go? Darn it. Now, oh, here we go. Okay, it's just little pictures. Okay, our investigation, this is what he said. This is Colin Sutton, who I like a lot. Our investigation to Levi Bellfield told us that on the day of the Chillenden murders, Levi Bellfield was in West London having a meal with his then girlfriend and some family to celebrate a birthday, and couldn't have been in Kent at that time. Now, that isn't my favorite alibi, and when a girlfriend and family say that he was there, I'm not always impressed by that, because that's, to me, questionable if they're going to lie. However, the girlfriend said she believed he committed the other crimes, so she wasn't like standing up for him. So, and she was having a baby at the time, so she said he was around. His attacks were using something like a hammer in some cases, but he always attacked people who were alone, women mostly. I have no reason to suspect that Levi Bellfield would actually attack a child with a hammer. Of course, that again could happen. His hammer attacks were on adult women. He had very distinct and discrete areas where he offended. And he says he does not think, Colin Sutton does not think he killed Megan and Lynn Russell. I agree, because one looked like just a straight up robbery and the other guy's a serial killer. Two different things. Because this guy is a whack job who whacks people with whatever instrument he has available and trying to get heroin and robberies, not a serial killer, although he maybe killed more than one person. And this guy's 100% a serial killer and has his type and the way he likes to do things. And there was nothing ever connecting him to those other crimes. So that he supposedly confessed. Some say that he did it for just to mess with people. Some say he was paid off to do it. But there was a claim he knew things that only the killer would know, but that turned out to be bogus. So I don't think he has anything to do with it. But here we go. We're going to have, this is now becoming a huge thing on the internet again. Oh my God, Michael Stone is innocent. This poor baby, he didn't do it. He's been wrongfully convicted, and he's this innocent man. Okay. Well, I'll let that guy come and live in your house. See how you like it. I mean, yeah. So he's an extraordinarily violent, vicious, psychopathic, and possibly psychotic man as well. He doesn't need to be out ever in the public. So even if for whatever reason some other person committed the crime and he got nailed for it, it doesn't bother me that one would think, okay, we have to follow the law and let this dude out. What bothers me is people go on this big, huge sob. Oh, poor guy. No, that guy's a psychopath. He's a violent psychopath that kills people. Why are you feeling sorry for him? You don't need to feel sorry for him. He has a penchant for blondes. Oh, did he? Okay. I haven't gone through all the whole stories of the other ones. I was just looking at the issues of should we feel bad for Michael Stone, and that's what we do a lot of. Because that's what the media pushes, a lot of emotion, and so do a lot of YouTube shows push a lot of emotion instead of looking at things just, okay, let's look at the evidence. And if there's a reason we have to let the guy go, we do, but sometimes there's not a reason to feel sorry for him. I mean, especially when they're a horrible human being, and have done things to other people that were egregious, absolutely egregiously horrible, violent, vicious crimes. And then we have to feel sorry for them. But that's what media tends to hide their history in order for you to feel sorry for them, as when they do these exoneration things or attempts to exonerate. And then they play up this person as being a super sympathetic character, which annoys me because you don't need to do that. The guy shouldn't have been convicted. Well, he shouldn't have been, even if he's a scumbag of the earth. That's just the way it is. There's people that I know commit a crime, but I would say you can't arrest them. And the people say, well, why wouldn't you want them to be arrested and convicted? Well, I do, but the evidence isn't there to do it, even though I believe they did it. And it's not that I like them or want to give them a break. It's just there's not enough to put them away, and we have to follow the legal system, whether we like the person or don't like the person. So, well, good. They need to. There's some scary characters out there. Let me tell you. Speaking of scary characters, this seems to be a kind of a thing that's going on in the UK recently. And since I don't live there, we have our own issues in the US, but hey, there's this weird issue these days of people getting stabbed up a lot. I'm sorry, that's a horrible show. Don't watch In Footsteps of Killers. It's so dreadful. Anyway, these three were stabbed to death by this guy named Valdo Calcone. I'm not sure, Calcone. Here he is being arrested. This is the fella. He was diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia 3 years before the killings. And the doctor warned that he could kill. And the family actually said he would call up saying he was hearing voices, and they were trying to get, he needed not to be out on the streets. But apparently it was interesting how they put him away, and then some psychiatrists will say, yeah, he's fine, and send him back out again. And this happened over and over and over again. And what bothers me so much about this is that, we have such a reliance on psychiatry, yet we don't actually, it doesn't seem to work very well in many cases, that the concept of therapy and what you're doing to ensure that the person is safe to leave, safe for themselves and safe for other people as well. It's like, if that's, let me see if I can find this one story on him. This is also interesting. He visited a drug dealing gang. Hold on a second. I'm being blocked. Nottingham killer visited drug dealing gang member before fatal attacks He was attended an event with violent cannabis using gangster, but toxicology tests were not carried out in the aftermath of the knife rampage. So this is another concern I have, that when you see people suffering from psychosis and schizophrenia, and the family said he was fine all the way through his teenage years, what happened? And I strongly believe drugs are involved in a lot of people changing the chemistry of their brains. That time, when drugs are used to that extent, I do believe it can cause permanent damage. And the question is, if that's true, why are they running around in the streets? Well, in the United States, we pretty much closed down all the mental institutions because it was unfair to keep them there, and now they're on the streets. And it's very hard to get them confined because it's considered cruel and mean. And yet they're often released. They're told, take these meds. They don't take the meds. They go do more drugs, and then they kill people and stab them up. And so those 3 people were stabbed to death because that guy was running around on the streets. Speaking of stabbing, then we have this character. He stabbed an 11-year-old girl to death. Why? I don't know. And this guy stabbed this bus driver to death. So, there's a lot of people out there running around with some knives. We're stabbing people. And the question is, why? Is it the fault of our, I say, well, I don't want to get into politics here, so I don't want to go into all that. But we do have definitely the issue, both in the US and the UK and everywhere in the world, that when we have a lack of stability in society, lack of stability with family and with schools, and with excess drugs. We had a war on drugs once, which we got rid of because we thought it was unfair. And now we have so many people, so much drugs going around the United States. It's absolutely insane. And people are dropping dead all over the place, especially from fentanyl. And it's like there are so many victims of this non-war on drugs. It's horrific. It's just absolutely horrific. But we don't seem to do anything about it. And we just had this one come in. They had a jalapeno paste drug bust. They found all these containers, $10 million worth of drugs in California that had the drugs mixed into there it is, all mixed into the jalapeno paste. And luckily they found that one. But they also had, there was also a situation where was it, Georgia? Let me see. Okay, here they found 2,000. Agents find more than 2,300 pounds of meth hidden in celery at a Georgia farmer's market. You go to farmer's market to get healthy stuff. Well, I guess not. I guess you get meth there instead. Unbelievable. Celery was used to conceal more than 2,300 pounds of meth that federal agents discovered in a truck at a farmer's market outside of Atlanta, one of the largest seizures of its kind. Agents learned about the semi-trailer coming across the Mexican border, and agents tracked the drugs to farmers markets. And they found the celery was covering it up. So now we have massive amount of meth coming across the border and killing the citizens of the United States. And we don't do anything much to stop it. And, oh no, I take that back. We do stop it. You know what we do? Here's what we do. Well, let me show you what we do. We arrest people. We arrest, okay, where it go? Oh, yeah, here we go. Yes, we've had arrests. Breaking news. Matthew Perry, who died using drugs because he was a drug addict. They have arrested, a whole bunch of people. Let's see, I think they arrested 5 people. Check this out. 5 people. 5 people, including 2 doctors, were charged in an investigation into Matthew Perry's death. A prosecutor says 5 people have been charged in connection with Matthew Perry's death from a ketamine overdose last year. They said that the doctor supplied Perry with a large amount of ketamine and even wondered in a text message how much he'd be willing to pay. The defendants took advantage of Mr. Perry's addiction issues to enrich themselves. They knew what they were doing was wrong. Yes, so we go after only actors. Michael Jackson's doctor went down. These guys are going down. Why? Oh, let's see who else is getting it. It says Perry died in October due to a ketamine overdose and received several injections of the drug. on the day he died from his live-in personal assistant. The assistant, Kenneth Iwamasa, is the one who found him dead later that day. Even though I think they said that the stuff they gave him actually wasn't the stuff that was used. So he got some stuff from someplace else, actually. Let's see. So, okay. The medical examiner said Perry's last treatment 1.5 weeks earlier wouldn't explain the levels of ketamine in his blood. The drug is typically metabolized in a matter of hours. At least 2 doctors were treating Perry, a psychiatrist and an anesthesiologist who served as his primary care physician. But they weren't the ones supposedly gave it to him, or I don't even know if that's where he got it from. But he took the stuff and then he drowned in his hot tub. So only if you're famous do they arrest anybody who gave you those drugs. But if you're a regular person and you're found dead on the street, you're shooting up. If you're one of those regular people, we don't arrest anybody. We just let the drugs flow through the streets. We let people get addicted. We let them take them. We don't arrest them. We don't take them to prison. We don't put people in. We don't force people into drug rehab. We don't do anything. We just let them all take the drugs, and we don't arrest anybody hardly who sells the drugs, because it's mean to arrest drug sellers. That's where our war on drugs ended, because it was unfair to arrest people who were selling drugs, who just needed to make some money. But if it's a celebrity, well, then we'll arrest you. Although, think about it. The celebrity, they have all this power and money to get all the help they need. So if you have that level of ability, you are actually using people to get what you want, because you have power. Regular people don't have that kind of power. So Matthew Perry had that power, and Michael Jackson had that power. So why are you arresting the guys who they used their power on because they wanted to get drugs when they could have gotten help? So it's interesting. It's like we think that powerful men shouldn't encourage women to have sex with them because there's that imbalance of power. But it's okay if a celebrity gets somebody to help them get the drugs who happens to be a professional. That's wrong. I mean, that's not wrong. They're the victims. Matthew Perry was the victim. Michael Jackson's the victim. These other people took advantage of them, I guess, because they could make some money. We're just a mess. We are an absolute mess. So I'm just so sick of drugs. I can't even say. Regular people steal hoodies for drugs. Probably true. Probably true. Yeah, he would have gotten it from anywhere. That's true. He could have, because he had money. Money and power. Could have gotten what he wanted. It's just no. Yeah. Did they force him? No, they didn't force him. He just he's a drug addict. We used to call people junkies, and we don't use that term anymore because it's mean. But I think there was a point where being a drug addict was an embarrassment, and people would be horrified if a person was a junkie, and they would call him a junkie. And so you would not, as a person, as you're growing up, whatever, want to become a junkie. But now it's all smoothed over. Oh, they had an issue. They had depression. And there's always these reasons why you can take drugs. And people just feel sad. And of course, if you do have a loved one who dies from a drug overdose, of course you've lost the person that you cared about. But the problem is we are so lax. We threw away the war on drugs. We don't even have a slap on the hand against drugs anymore. They're proliferating so heavily. It's insane. As I said many times on the show, I can ask my kids if they know anybody who died from a drug overdose, and they can name about 10 people. And I grew up, I never knew anybody who died of a drug overdose. And my kids aren't running in bad circles. It's not like, if you're a heroin addict, you know people who've died of drug overdoses. But if you're not in those circles, you shouldn't know anybody. And if you do know a person, it should be maybe one person in your life you knew of that. But when you start list a whole bunch of people, yeah, I know this one and this one and this one, this, my God, something's wrong. If you can name a whole bunch, and these are middle class, by the way, middle class people who are actually probably in their 20s, 30s, and 40s. they were, even some middle-aged people. And the fact that they can name people and say, yeah, that one died 2 weeks ago. I'm like, what? Yeah, it's just shocking. It really is. I just can't believe how many people are dying of overdoses. And we're not doing anything about it at all. And we're doing nothing. The young kids are growing up, and we're just not even, they don't even want to just say no to drugs. Don't even say that. That's mean. Everything's mean now. Can't do anything. It's mean. Don't put drug addicts in jail. That's mean. Don't get those people off the streets. That's mean. Don't put them in a mental institution. It's mean. Everything's mean. Well, maybe mean is good. It used to be called tough love. It's tough love. We see that you have a terrible problem. You're a junkie. You need to be helped. So we can save your life, and also so you don't contribute to, buying this stuff, which contributes to the drug dealers being able to continue drug dealing, and also the fact that sometimes you have to steal in order to buy the stuff. So we're preventing crime, lots of crimes, including damage to yourself and damage to society. So yes, we should arrest your butt and put you in a situation where you have to clean up, but then it's considered mean. It's mean and unfair, and we're a mess. I mean, we just are. Oh, sorry, that was my little soapbox for today. Oh my God, just crazy. It is. It's just unbelievable. I just can't believe how bad it's gotten. And now we just we've legalized marijuana, and the marijuana is so strong now that I think it's causing schizophrenia in the teens who are now starting to use it when they're young because they can. And they're eating gummies when they're 10, getting hold of gummies, and they're strong. I mean, we're not talking about homegrown that I grew when I was 17. Well, no, I was 18. I was 18 years old. And homegrown was out there, and it was wimpy, in comparison to what they got today, which is unbelievably strong stuff. And it's now being sold at the store down the street. Crazy, just absolutely crazy. So, oh, that's a good point. When you baby the addict, you bury the addict. Yeah, I mean, people shouldn't be doing drugs. I don't know how hard that concept is. I understand people get depressed. I understand they're in pain. I understand this kind of thing that leads people into drugs. A lot of it is experimentation. A lot of it is what the hell, but when we allow drugs to proliferate the way it is, and you look at how the scourge of drugs is destroying entire towns in the Midwest. I mean, places that, where you wouldn't think that would even be. It's destroying families, and it's destroying towns, and it's destroying lives. I just don't understand why we're so, everybody should have the right to do whatever they want. Okay, fine. It's just, I think I feel so. Oh, my last thing before I quit for today. So I'll say this too. My soapbox. We, the United States, consume so much drugs. We are destroying Mexico. We think Mexico is destroying us, but because we buy so much of that crap, we support the cartels in Mexico. We support the cartels in Colombia. We support the gangs in Central America. We support them because we are the ones buying the product. If they had no product, if nobody was going to buy the product, they wouldn't bother to shove that stuff across the border. And they wouldn't be destroying their own. In Mexico, the cartels wouldn't have the strength they have, except for the U.S. You think the people in Mexico are giving the cartels all that money? No, it is the United States of America. We're giving the cartels the money, and they're destroying Mexico. Mexicans should hate the hell out of us. Anyway, that's my last thing. Okay. I'm calm. Yes, I am. That's why I go do puzzles. No. Okay. So anyway, that's it for today. I think I've covered anything. Oh, that's an interesting point. Somebody said crime is not down. Arrest and prosecutions of crime is down. Just to point out, we've heard recently that crime is down in the United States, but it's not. We simply they're not arresting people. There's so much crime going on, they can't get around to arresting anybody, and the prosecution system is caving in. So they're basically not taking things to court. So it looks like we have less crime, but we have more crime. And I live in an area where I see the crime escalating. We have jugging, which is people being attacked when they come out of they get their money from the ATM and then they get attacked. We have had, I don't know how many ATMs stolen in the area, trucks just smash into the stores and stealing the ATMs. We're having carjackings like you wouldn't believe in this area. It's just crazy. And this is a good area. This has been when I moved here, it was a really nice area. And this is what's considered the number one most affluent African American place town in the United States, and still very affluent. But we're having people coming in who are committing these crimes, and it's nuts. And we have, and a lot of them as young teenagers. So, and they're not getting arrested and prosecuted, most of them. So yeah, crime is down. Sure. Okay. Oh Lord. So anyway, that's it. All right. Santa Methica. Oh, that's terrible. Oh, very sad. All right. So that's it for today. I will be back. Show will probably be on Sunday. I have YouTube. Some of you have given me a couple good ideas. I think I'm going to probably do one of them. I'm just trying to figure out which one for this Sunday that I will do. And so hopefully I'll see you then. And again, if you're new to the show and still hanging around, got to my soapbox, do subscribe or join Patreon. One of those two. Thank you, Lady Jane. There's no such thing as a good part of town anymore. Well, there's still places, but it's just so sad to see. I mean, it's just I don't understand we're just very lackadaisical about what I think is a. I just hate drugs. I truly hate drugs. It just drives me nuts. I mean, and I spent time in Mexico, and I love Mexico, and it makes me sad that the cartels are destroying lots of parts of Mexico, and they have so much power, but they only have the power because the United States citizens are giving them the power because we're a bunch of druggies and junkies. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to do it. Anyway, I'll hopefully see you on Sunday, and have a good time until then. Bye.